Welcome to the University of Dundee Master of Education webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos. I'm the Admissions Manager at Stafford Global, and joining me this evening all the way from the university is Dr. Marie. Good evening to you, Dr. Marie.
Good evening to you and everyone with you tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you everyone, and I can see that we do have quite a few applicants from the Middle East as well as in Africa. Welcome this evening. How we are going to conduct the webinar this evening is I'm just briefly going to take you through Stafford Global, who we are, and then I'm going to hand you over to Dr. Marie, who's going to chat to you about the program. And then towards the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to type out any questions that you'd like to ask Dr. Marie about the academics of the program, and I'll also be able to assist you with regards to the application process. Okay, so let's get started. Who is Stafford Global? Well, Stafford Global was established in 1993, and we are a resource centre for distance learning education in the Middle East. Now, we're currently the resource centre for 6 UK universities, one of which is University of Dundee. Now, we do offer a variety of programs ranging from certificates to diplomas, bachelors, MBAs, MScs, right through until doctorates. So we actually have all the programs for your personal and professional needs. Now, the mere fact that you are here this evening with us means that you have been in touch with one of our experienced academic consultants. And our role is to assist you throughout the entire application process. We'll be the go-between between you and the university, and we'll make sure that you get that very, very important unconditional offer. And we do also offer some administrative support once you actually start the program. Okay, I'm now going to hand you over to Dr. Marie, who's going to take you through the program, and towards the end of the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions and we'll be able to answer that. Okay, over to you, Marie.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you for that introduction. So, as Helen says, my name is Dr. Marie Beresford-Dey. I'm a lecturer on the programme, specifically in educational leadership, although I also work on the innovation module and as a dissertation supervisor. I'm also the academic lead and advisor of studies for any student who is undertaking the Master of Education pathways via Stafford Associates. So I'd like to welcome you to the University of Dundee and the Master of Education programme, and I'll start by giving you an overview of both of these before we start going into a little bit more detail about the programme. So, University of Dundee, who are we? Well, we're, as you'll see shortly, a high-ranking university who make a difference here and now in the real world. We encourage a cross-disciplinary exchange of thoughts, ideas and innovation through a variety of teaching methods and perspectives. We work to foster a partnership approach between staff and students and actively seek ways of working together across boundaries. We encourage and support students to be transformative. We make time to listen to, help and support you, and recognise and respect differences through actively promoting inclusion. We nurture creativity, and as a modern university, we focus our efforts on 3 key themes, so improving social, cultural and physical well-being to develop innovative solutions to 21st century problems. We act locally as well as globally, and we'll say a little bit more about that shortly. Okay, so why Dundee? So here are some of our rankings, and as you can see from the list, we are frequently placed highly in the university rankings, which we're very proud of. As a discipline, we're particularly proud that in education we are ranked as #1 in Scotland by the Guardian Best UK University Guide 2021, and in the top 10 in the UK by the Complete University Guide 2022. We have a substantial global reputation with students from over 150 countries around the world. In addition, no matter where in the world you're studying from, we promote a real sense of community, and it's this that we feel that sets us apart. It's what we call a Dundee community. And at Dundee, we offer you a learning experience with one of the world's top universities. So let's just have a little look now at the MEd programme. The MEd is a professional development programme undertaken at level 11 on the Scottish qualifications framework at master's level. So although the MEd is recognised by the General Teaching Council in Scotland, it's not a teaching qualification. As different national governments have different prerequisites for teaching, you are advised to check with the relevant government body or registering body for those requirements. Okay, so a bit more of an overview. You have the opportunity to study part-time and fast-track study, and I'll highlight what those mean shortly. But this offers some flexibility and autonomy. We offer a blended learning approach where much of your learning and teaching will be carried out through online mechanisms with some opportunities for face-to-face workshops. It's a practice-based professional development learning qualification that's recognised by the International Baccalaureate, or the IB. We have students from all sectors of education worldwide, from early years through to higher education. It's an internationally recognised postgraduate qualification. We treat all students equally, so even though you'll be studying at distance and online, you still have access to all of the university's student support mechanisms. And we offer a variety of different routes and foci throughout your studies. So why study at master's level? There are several benefits of undertaking a master's degree. First, it deepens and broadens your knowledge through asking questions, seeking answers, and exploring the landscape from different perspectives, which then changes the way in which you perceive the world. Through this, you'll develop a more inquiring, reflective, critical, and innovative approach to practice. Through undertaking the MEd, you'll demonstrate your mastery of education, which of course can then be honed further to specialise in an educational area. So this changes the way that you view the world. It enables you to develop transferable skills such as criticality, communication, use of technology, and organisational skills. Study at master's level enables you to improve your career prospects, which often leads to higher incomes, as this also includes professional progression into leadership and management roles. Also, you might wish to progress to doctoral study if you obtain the full MEd. And also, finally, some countries consider teaching a master's level profession. So therefore, obtaining an MEd enables you to meet the professional requirements for these countries. So why study an MEd at the University of Dundee? Well, it's a programme of study that brings together theory with your practice. It encourages you to draw on your experiences and align them with literature. It enables you to question why we do certain things and whether there are alternative ways where practice can be enhanced. It encourages you to strengthen your knowledge about global educational developments through offering an opportunity to critically explore those different perspectives, all of which can help to develop, extend your confidence and enhance your professional career. As tutors, we're constantly seeing our students' practice being influenced by their learning at master's level, and this inevitably benefits the students and staff who you're working with. Okay, to obtain an MEd or Master of Education, you'll need to complete 180 credits of study in any of the named awards. So you can see the named awards listed there. The Award of Leading Learning and Teaching, highlighted in bold, is our generic award which provides subject flexibility. However, if you require a subject specialism, you can see that we have a number of options from educational leadership through to TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And that's our new pathway, which we're excited to bring to you. And students on this pathway, the TESOL route, might be suited for those for new graduates and teachers of English with little or a few years of teaching experience. It could be suitable for those who would like to become TESOL leaders in their institutions and provide or pursue consultancy in charities, educational organisations, state or private schools and university. There's lots of different roles that are linked into that TESOL award, as with the other awards too. But yes, it's something that we hope will give you a competitive advantage for English teaching positions at state and private schools across the world. Alternatively, you might wish to gain employment in translation and editing for the public sector. So you can see it offers a lot of opportunity. Okay, so looking then a little bit closer at the optional modules that's available to you. Each of the optional modules enable you to carry out the study and assignment without being in a workplace environment, as long as you have relevant teaching experience to draw from. Each optional module is considered as a single credit module and are worth 30 credits. In addition, we also have core modules, so reflecting upon practice or reflecting upon leadership in the IB, depending on which route you take, along with research methods and dissertation. So these are also 30 credit modules apart from the dissertation, which is a double credit module and was worth 60 credits. Okay, to demonstrate how the named awards and modules link, you can see that the generic Leading Learning and Teaching Award enables you to undertake any two optional modules, along with having flexibility at the dissertation stage. Whereas the named awards, not highlighted in bold, do require you to undertake specific modules, and the dissertation must also focus on an area that's relevant to that named award. So for example, if you want to undertake the educational leadership module, you must undertake the optional module we identify as an optional of leadership and organisational development, plus one other optional module, but then your dissertation must also focus on educational leadership. I previously mentioned the International Baccalaureate, so just looking a little bit more closely at this and what it means, we have 3 different awards that are available to you: the Certificate in Leadership Practice, the Advanced Certificate in Leadership Research, and the Advanced Certificate in Learning and Teaching Research. For these awards, once you commence your studies at Dundee, you'll need to register directly with the IB, and we'll provide you with guidelines for this process. We also have a dedicated member of staff who will provide you with IB support. There's no additional assignments for each of the IB awards, but you will be expected to underpin your writing with the IB publications and philosophies. And again, we'll provide you with support for this. So what you will need, however, is to identify which of these awards do have prerequisites as noted by the IB. The first award, the Certificate in Leadership Practice, there's no prerequisite for that. You don't need to have taught in an IB school. It will give you the underpinning understanding of the theories around leadership, followed by the understanding of the IB. Then following on from that, we have the advanced certificates. So there's two pathways through this, one where you have followed the certificate route through, and then the second one where you have 3 years teaching experience in an IB school. However, I do, for that second option, I would still advocate the certificate pathway if possible. And then finally, we have the Advanced Certificate in Learning and Teaching Research. And for this, you must have 3 years teaching experience in an IB school. There's no alternative pathway for that award. Okay, so just to talk through a couple of examples of what this might look like if you were completing the full MEd and the exit routes on the way. This is for a typical part-time route, which also includes the IB Advanced Teaching and Learning Research Award. So in year 1, you would undertake the core module reflecting upon practice with an optional module. And at this point, you could exit with a postgraduate certificate, or you could continue on to year 2, where you would undertake your second optional module plus the core research methods, and that will provide eligibility for a postgraduate diploma if you wish to exit at that point. However, for the certificate and diploma, there's no IB eligibility on this route. That only comes when you complete the full MEd, and in year 3 you would undertake your dissertation, which is the double credit module. And at that point, you would exit with the MEd and the eligibility for the IB Teaching and Learning Award. Okay, so we'll just have a look at a typical part-time route now through the MEd with the IB leadership route. So in year 1 for this, you would start off thinking that you would be undertaking the Postgraduate Certificate Award, starting with the Leadership and Organisational Development module, followed by the Reflection upon Leadership in the IB, which becomes the core at this point. And that then would provide you with eligibility for the IB Leadership Practice Award. You can exit at that point, but of course we do hope that you would go on to your postgraduate diploma year, in year 2, where you would undertake a second optional module plus the core of research module, before finally then going on to year 3, which again is the dissertation, but in this situation, because you're going for the IB Leadership Awards, then you must also have leadership and IB focus in your dissertation. And this will provide you not only with the MEd, but the Advanced IB Leadership eligibility. Okay, stages equate to year or semester, depending on whether you are undertaking the part-time or fast-track route. So the programme has options for fast-track or part-time study. The key difference here is that you double up the amount of work carried out in a semester for the fast-track route. So you would undertake a total of 60 credits for the fast-track route in 1 semester, as opposed to the 30 credits for the part-time route. The fast-track option is a significant, and I don't say that lightly, it should be significant, underlined and in bold, undertaking. I strongly advise you to consider whether you have space to complete approximately 30-35 hours of study per week. However, if you decide upon this option but then feel it's too overwhelming, we can transfer you onto the part-time route at the start of the semester. Equally, if you commence the part-time route but perhaps your circumstances change so that you feel that you're able to double up your study, then we may be able to transfer you onto the fast-track route at certain points. However, we want to have a conversation with you before you speeded up your pace of study. To me, the part-time route is the most beneficial route. It's the one that gives you time for your learning. It isn't as intense as the fast-track route. So I would think very carefully before attempting to study at this level on fast-track routes. Okay, we also, I mentioned earlier that we have those blended learning opportunities, and for that we have the optional workshops. Workshops are not mandatory, but they are highly recommended. They're a fantastic opportunity to meet with other students as well as some of the tutors. And it's a space for us to start building that sense of community. The workshops are planned to take place on Friday the 25th and Saturday the 26th of March 2022. And the induction workshops will provide you with an opportunity to gain an understanding of the various mechanisms within the university's online learning platform. For example, how to access the online library and how to access various support opportunities. They also enable you to develop an understanding of critical reading, thinking and writing, all of which is a requirement for master's level learning. In fact, those things underpin master's level learning. Feedback is always excellent. Students find them very worthwhile and beneficial to moving forward with their studies, as well as creating a sense of confidence for that forward movement. So the entry requirements onto the MEd, all students must have an undergraduate degree, but this can be in any discipline. If your undergraduate degree was not taught in English, the English language requirement is an academics IELTS of 6.5 or equivalent. Now, if you're in a workplace-based route, that you need to be currently working as an educator in a relevant setting. And you maybe wish to enhance your professional learning and improve your career progression. It's not necessary to be currently working, however, we have the non-workplace based route through. However, for this, you must have a substantial previous work experience in a relevant setting to enable you to reflect deeply on. One of the things that we get asked about quite regularly is the graduation, and there is a time scale for this. It doesn't happen immediately after submitting your final assessment. Your studies will be presented to the Board of Examiners meeting, who will confer appropriate awards to be made for each student on the programme who are eligible to graduate. The MEd Board of Examiner meetings are held in May of each year, and we also have opportunities for chairs action in October. These coincide with graduation ceremonies of June and November, and we can provide you with links regarding the graduation ceremonies. But there are those two opportunities, and they're a wonderful time for us all to come and celebrate your achievements. However, if you do need any confirmation of achieving your awards and that you're awaiting for graduation, or that you have submitted your final assignments, then registry, we can contact them and they will provide you with a letter of attainment or completion before you receive your certificates. We are unable to present you with certificates before that graduation, however. So overall, what do our students say? Feedback is always good, and it's one of the things that I love to see, the change in students from when they start their studies to when they finish their studies, particularly in terms of their practice. And that, you know, this is a piece of feedback from a student carrying out an inquiry into my own practice helped me to identify areas for improvement. And it's that reflective practice that comes through the MEd programme that we really think helps you to pull together the theory and the practice. Always excellent support and dedicated tutor as well. Okay. Tuition fees, please do contact your consultant at Stafford for a breakdown of the tuition fees and any instalment schemes. The application deadline is the 14th of March 22. Now it seems a long way in the distance, but this time comes around very quickly. and we do need to make sure that we've got your application in good time, but also to make sure that we have a space available for you. So Helen is joining me, and we are going to take forward any questions that you might have. And thank you, Helen.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marie. That was very, very informative. And I've been monitoring some very, very interesting questions that have been coming through. Okay, so the first question is from Basma. If I take the full master's for 3 years, am I entitled to get the certificate of the postgraduate certificate and postgraduate diploma after the first and second year? Very interesting question.
It is indeed. Thank you for that question, Basma. You would only be able to receive those certificates if you graduate. When to graduate, then that indicates that you're going to exit from the programme at either one of those levels. So if you're doing the full master's degree, then you wouldn't get a certificate at postgraduate certificate and postgraduate diploma level. However, if you need confirmation of that for any employer or a future employer, then we can provide you with a letter of confirmation to say that you've met it. You have enough credits to warrant your eligibility for those awards.
Okay, good. And I'll just answer Hayat's question with regards to English. How can we prove that we were taught in English at our university? Okay, also very, very good question. Normally, we advise our applicants to get in touch with your university, and they will normally provide you with a letter to say that the mode of instruction at that university was in English. Do get in touch with your academic consultant at Stafford as well. There will be other methods that you can use to actually prove the English requirements. Okay. All right, and an interesting question also from Jack. I am a school principal and I'm thinking of actually moving through to Singapore next year sometime. My question is, should I do educational leadership or international education?
Either or. That's a difficult one to answer, but I do think if you're currently in school leadership role and that's what you're aspiring to continue in, educational leadership is a very useful area to have. Now, I'm going to be biased here because that's my subject area, so I will always promote that. But of course, international education is equally as important. You would be able to, if you wanted to undertake, say, the full MEd in educational leadership, then your optional module, if you're not applying for credit exemption, you would be able to undertake the international education module and vice versa as well. So there could be a component of either of those, whichever pathway you decide to take. It might be that you decide to start on an MEd educational leadership, but then there may be an opportunity, if you feel that that's not suitable for you, that we may be able to transfer you onto international education, depending on the modules that you've taken at the time of that decision. So although you may set off on that, there is some opportunity to transfer if necessary.
Okay, and a question from Asma. Can I teach geography if I take this qualification?
This is a professional development qualification, so it's not subject specific. So it would go across the board of teaching subjects. If you want something subject specific, then this is perhaps not the programme for you, if I'm being honest, but it will give you a good underpinning in terms of education and moving forward. But you would bring that subject speciality, I'm assuming, from an undergraduate degree or from previous experience.
Okay, I'm a little bit concerned about the fast track option. It seems that there is a lot of hours that I need to dedicate to the program. can I switch from one to another if I'm not happy with the fast track?
In the early days, yes, of each semester. However, we can wait until, say, you got to 2 weeks before the submission deadline and then come to us to say you want to move to part-time. So I would say, if you're concerned about it, and quite rightly so in my view, because it is just such an intense pathway that if you are working, if you've got family, particularly if it's a job with responsibility, then perhaps fast track isn't something that you should be considering at the moment. It may be worthwhile you starting on the part-time route, and then once you've completed your first 2 modules, if you feel at that point that actually this is doable, this is manageable, let's then transfer you to fast track at that point. I think for me, that's perhaps the most sensible way of doing it.
Okay, and if I cannot make the induction, will this be recorded and can I get the link?
Yes, we hope that you could attend the inductions, because of course you get much more from the inductions in terms of connecting with peers and tutors and being part of that conversation. But of course we also recognise that not everybody can attend because it's other priorities and such like. So yes, there will be some recordings made available. So these will be recorded presentations rather than the entire workshop if they're held face-to-face, and they will be made available to you. Now, of course, we've had COVID, so that's meant that the workshops have been delivered virtually, and if that's the case, then we would record the entire sessions for you. So either way, you will have recordings and you will have links available.
Excellent. And if I choose a particular specialization, can I still pick up any other modules from other specializations?
Yes, and I think just that example previously with educational leadership and in international education is a prime example. So I say yes, but it does depend whether you come with any credit exemption or not, and whether you want to undertake the IB route. But if you're taking the typical MEd route through, you don't have the credit exemptions, then yes, you have space for a second optional module from an alternative specialisation.
Okay, good. And I have seen about 2 or 3 questions related to exemptions. It is very important, if you are going to apply for exemptions, that you do provide us with the academic transcripts, the certificate that you have obtained, and if possible, the learning outcomes of the programs that you have completed. This is very important for Marie and her team to analyze and to make sure that it does actually map against the MEd modules. Okay, so do get in touch with your academic consultant. They'll be able to give you a bit more advice as to what documents are required to be submitted for that credit exemption. Okay, the question.
Can I just add to that, Helen? Sorry to interrupt. That for credit exemptions, we need to make sure that that previous study that's been carried out has been at master's level. So it needs to map across on the Scottish qualifications level 11. If you're looking at that from an English background, then we're looking at level 7. But it needs to be that equivalent, and it also needs to have been achieved within the last 5 years.
That's right, very good. Thank you for reminding me about that, Marie. That's exactly it. So yes, added criteria there, but your academic consultant will advise you on that. Okay, and now a question on the IB. If I decide halfway through my studies that I now want to do an IB certification, am I permitted?
That would depend on the experience that you have in terms of the teaching in an international baccalaureate school. So there is a possibility of that happening. However, typically my response would be it's probably unlikely, because you won't have underpinned any previous study with IB philosophy and literature and so on. So it really needs to come into your thinking from the very beginning. And also, of course, if you don't have the IB teaching experience, then you will need to undertake the 2 modules of leadership and organisational development and reflection upon leadership in the IB. So they'll be a must. So it depends. And I give that response a lot to these questions because there's so much flexibility and we can tailor so much. So your academic consultants are the best people for any individual guidance on this, because they will be able to talk through your application, your previous experience and your previous studies. But of course, then we're available for any other questions beyond that.
Absolutely. And very interesting question that is coming from John. I'm actually working in HR, but I've always had a passion for teaching. Is there any possibility that I can actually attend this program, even though I do not have any formal teaching experience, but I have taught my 3 kids at home?
Okay, all right, thank you for that. We need you to have some formal teaching for this, because you will need to reflect on that practice to be able to make sense of the theory, the literature, and how that drives forward your practice from where you are currently or have been if you've been in working in a relevant setting. Now, you could go and get some voluntary work, but that needs to be quite extensive to enable you to draw from that. So again, how that would fit in with your lifestyle and your current job and your study, whether you're studying at the moment, I don't know. So please speak to the team at Stafford. Again, it's one of those questions that's difficult to answer until you get more information.
Absolutely. What we'd like to do is actually see a copy of your CV as well as any qualifications. And we'll be having a last conversation with you as well, just understanding what your goals are and understanding what you're currently doing. And then we'll be able to guide you accordingly. So please do get in touch with us and we'll be able to assist you with that. Okay, very good question with regards to assessors. Will you be able to assess me virtually in the classroom? Is this part of the program?
Yeah, good question, but we don't need to assess you virtually. It's not a teaching license program, so we don't need to come in and carry out classroom observations in the same way. The assessments are through written work. You may have, for one of the modules, there's an opportunity to give a presentation instead of the written work, but generally, whether that's in a report, whether it's in an action plan, or more commonly, a 5,000 written word assignment, and then the dissertation is a 15,000 word written assignment. So that's the way that we assess. There's certainly no classroom observations on the programme.
Ken, if I do fail one of my assignments, do I get critical review so I know where I have gone wrong?
You do, and you get that review when you pass the assignments as well, so you know what to strengthen or what was strong that you can take forward into your next module. So yes, that feedback from tutors is important, and there's different ways to get that feedback beyond the grade. We have the feedback in terms of an overall summary, but also then we have comments on the paper itself. So there's different ways to get that feedback, but yes, it's important regardless of whether you pass or fail for moving forward.
Good. And if I decide to leave the program on a postgraduate diploma level, how many years can I then have a gap before I come back and complete my full MEd?
Yeah, that would be up to 5 years to be able to do that. We ideally wouldn't want you to wait that long because we don't want you to lose the momentum and all those study skills that you've gained in the point of obtaining your postgraduate diploma. But yes, there's an opportunity there to have that gap and return to us in the future.
Okay, this is an interesting question. I have a lot of professional qualifications. I do not hold a bachelor degree, but I was awarded a master's in political science. Will I still be able to do this program?
No, there are some programs that I'm aware of that are not bachelor's but are master's level, but they wouldn't give you any credit exemption to go on to the MEd unless it was at level 11, which they're not all. Some are at level 10 and others are at level 11. So the answer is, I would think yes, that should be a possibility, but I couldn't be definite until we've seen the certificate, the transcript, and everything else that Helen's highlighted earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. We would like to actually send what we call a completed application. So any qualifications that you have done, professional qualifications, even small 1 or 2 year programs, whatever you have completed, please do send it through to your academic consultant. We'll then be able to send it to the team at the university for their own review, and this would obviously be a personal review because it is a little bit outside of the norm of the standard application procedures. Okay, and what would happen if I cannot attend my graduation? Especially with COVID, you never know. So can I get my degree certificate via courier?
We post out the degree certificates if you can't attend the graduation. Of course, we always hope that you can attend in person because it's a super time for us to meet you, to celebrate with you. But we realise that even COVID to one side, that's not possible for everybody. So yes, your degree certificates will be sent out to you, and we would always say this is why it's so important to keep any details that the university has on you in terms of addresses, contact details up to date, so we're sending your certificate to the right address.
Okay, and one last question here with regards to the workshops. We have been advised that the workshops are virtual. Do you know at which point they may become face-to-face?
We hope as soon as possible, and that really does depend on COVID. That's all it's dependent on, is whether our in-country government enable people coming and going from the country, as well as what the UK regulations are, because it's that information that the university make the judgment as to whether we can travel or not. But for us, and I know the team at Stafford, we're very keen to see these face-to-face workshops taking place, so as soon as possible then we will be out there, but of course there's no guarantees at the moment, and I wouldn't want to give a false guarantee.
Absolutely, and you know, the university is always in touch with Stafford, so we will be able to advise on any latest developments on that. Okay, well, I've managed to actually wrap up all those questions. There were quite a few that were identical, so I've obviously grouped them together. Again, thank you very much, Marie, for being with us. And as Marie has mentioned, the application deadline is for the 14th of March of 2022, not very, very far away, even though we may have some holidays in December. We do advise that you try and send your application documents as early as now, so that the team at the university can start looking at these, and you may actually have your unconditional offer way before 2022. Thank you again, Marie. Thank you everyone this evening for joining us. Wonderful questions. And I hope to actually see all of you on our program. Thank you so much again, Marie. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.